in and out, how we be moving. All gas, no break, yo, we be cruising. You and I, do and die, but ain't no losing. In and out, how I be moving. Catch a vibe on the scene, all net. Feel like I'm being all hooks. I feel like Kareem. Dream shake, I feel like Hakeem. I can't believe that I'm living this life.
Chat, what's the series that y'all thought that y'all never thought would have died? I actually love talking about our video games. True crime. I don't want to say Infamous. Yeah, no cap. I really thought Infamous was going to be one of the next PlayStation's next games they were going to continue for a little while. But at the same time, I think Infamous had a good run though. What Infamous had, 3 games, 4 games? I think it serves its course though. I'm glad they didn't try to continue to drag that series on. I think it's one of the problems in gaming right now. They continue to try to drag on a series for 7, 8 game release. Every series don't need to be like that. Army of Two. Oh, I got a game. Medal of Honor. I thought, I used to think Medal of Honor was pretty cool games. That is dead. And it ain't coming back. Mass Effect, bro, I know that Mass Effect hate the last game. I never got into playing Mass Effect. I just remember the level of hate that last game got. I don't know if it's because it was in a broken state or something. But I do remember that they was not. Oh, I think they didn't like how it ended.
When there's a game series that's regularly putting out new titles and trying to do something.
Oh my God, Splinter Cell is a great one. What the are they doing?
New and push the envelope of what they've done in the franchise. And over the years, we've seen a lot of games where we're like, man, this series ain't going anywhere. And then it just unexpectedly dies. We're not talking about games that had a slow, painful death, or at least most of the time we're not. We're talking about the ones where people expected a new game to be announced at any given moment, and it just never came. Things just ended abruptly. The series got put on ice. And boy, oh boy, some of these are really interesting. Okay, if you didn't grow up in the early 2000s, you probably never realized this, but the Tom Clancy Splinter Cell series was a practically annual game series, with a new game releasing every single year. When the first Splinter Cell game came out in 2002, the game not only was heavily pre-ordered, people were really excited about it, and for a new IP, that's pretty impressive. And I mean, the reviews are really great after it launched. Then, after just 1 year off, they were yearly with the series all the way up until 2006. The next Splinter Cell game to release was a sequel to Double Agent, Splinter Cell Conviction, which was originally supposed to release in 2007, continuing the yearly releases. They even showcased this trailer that had Sam looking, different.
He looks
had long
nuts.
Hair and this beard. But then, I don't know, the game didn't release and pushed back again. And then I guess development started over in 2008, and then it finally released all the way later on in 2010. But then when the game did come out, it was still received pretty well, and it sold decently too, selling almost 2 million units in just a couple of months. But the era of Splinter Cell releasing on a yearly cycle was definitely slowing down a little bit. The next Splinter Cell game, Splinter Cell Blacklist, would release in 2013.
I remember when this dropped.
Interesting thing, the game reviewed well when it released, but Ubisoft had said that they expected the game to sell at least 5 million units.
That's because these motherfuckers is absolutely greedy, and they be trying to serve their numbers to the people that's sitting in the call those on the board. The game did well. The fans with the investors, yeah, bro. I wish these motherfuckers get the fuck out of games, bro. Shout out to TBH for the raid. I be watching all the time, bro. He talk about corporate greed up in these. These motherfuckers is greedy as hell.
Of 2013, mind you. Now, if you weren't around in 2013, you weren't gaming or paying attention to the gaming market, it was very, very different. It was the very end of the Xbox 360 and PS3's life. The new generation of consoles were on the way, but this game was still releasing on that older generation. It also released a month before GTA 5.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
You know how that could potentially affect a lot of games. But Ubisoft expecting 5 million units is actually kind of insane, at least I think. The sad thing
They
is
still
that not only did the
training
game
what?
review well, but it actually sold decently. Like, if they hadn't had the expectations so high, it still sold over 2 million units in a couple of months again. Now, of course, there were some other factors going on behind the scenes. This was this studio's first Splinter Cell game. Ubisoft set up a new development studio in Ubisoft Toronto to take over Splinter Cell for Blacklist. Ubisoft Montreal was instead working on a ton of other games at that time, like, I don't know, Rainbow Six Siege and the Assassin's Creed games and Far Cry. And I mean, Montreal was like the really big studio.
I remember when it was rumored to be bringing Rainbow Six back and everything like that. The way that the longevity of this game is absolutely crazy. Still got a solid community now, and yeah, I know that this game, the popularity of this game definitely didn't help us get another one of these. This had to play somewhat of a factor.
So it was actually kind of cool that they had a dedicated studio who was able to put out a really good game. And while it seemed obvious, like Ubisoft Toronto would just continue to work on the Splinter Cell series, instead, they were then moved over to work as a support studio for other mainline games that Ubisoft was working on. But they would be the lead developer for Far Cry 5, which was years later, but they were doing a lot of support stuff for like Assassin's Creed Unity, Far Cry 4, Far Cry Primal, Watch Dogs 2, and somewhere
I never got into the Far Cry games, and I'm gonna be honest, I'm glad that I didn't, because one of my things that stopped me from getting into them, Far Cry 3 almost got me. That boss in Far Cry 3 looked fire. I don't like the way that Ubisoft like fill up their games with a bunch of fucking slop that you gotta go around the fucking map to do. Brother, I got too much shit going on, bro. I'm sorry I gotta say that, bro. What they just fill up the game with go get this outpost, get that outpost. Nigga, damn.
in there, they also were in charge of leading the development for that game Starlink Battle for Atlas, which I think flopped really, really hard. But yeah, it was just like Splinter Cell was just kind of put on ice. This is weird because there wasn't ever like a definitive end to Splinter Cell or like an outright obvious reason as to why Splinter Cell just stopped getting new games other than, I don't know, Ubisoft got busy. In 2017, Ubisoft even said that like all of their Clancy...
I never played Assassin's Creed. Yes, I did. I played, I think I played the first 3 Assassin's Creed, and which one is... The last Assassin's Creed that I know for a fact that I played and beat is the one with Connor. I think that might be 2. But I played another one after that. That's 3. Okay, that's 3. I think 3 might be the last Assassin's Creed that I really fucking played and beat. Yes, I played other ones though, but I know for a fact I played and beat that game. I really actually like that fucking game, and I know that that's that. At the time, there was a controversial game because people didn't like the main character. That game was cool to me. I fuck with that one, but I got away from the series though.
games are taken care of and that they hadn't forgotten about Splinter Cell, and then
A
they
Black
just
Flag
proceeded to continue
playthrough?
to forget about Splinter Cell.
I'll look into it. Matter of fact, I'll look into it, and also I'll talk to Chase. I know Chase beat that game.
I guess they were working on like a VR Oculus exclusive game that got canceled. It wasn't Ubisoft necessarily making it, was being developed with another studio, but you get what I mean, right? It was canceled. And they've been working on a remake, which was announced back in 2021. It is 2026. What is going on?
I like
think
Origins,
it'll
okay.
eventually come back for sure. It's just, what are we doing, guys? Why did it die? Like, I still don't have an answer. We still don't know. Also, quick
There's no
shout out
real
to
answer.
Where Winds Meet for sponsoring this video, because
Shout out to them. But on top of that, and I do think that one thing that I don't really like about Assassin's Creed, at first it felt like they were building towards something in their story, and it felt like eventually all of the shit that we've done in these other games is going to go to like lead to the ending of the story, and we'll learn something. Then you could tell that the series got so fucking popular, like they just started dragging this shit on, and it's not going anywhere. At least that's from what I gathered. Now I do know I did not. They finished it. Okay, I bet. So that's what I'm about to say. I do know there's other games that I didn't play, and while some of the stories that I played in past beyond that got a little slower, I should have finished those. But I just feel like I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know. After I played 3 and I started playing the other games, I'm like, this shit not really getting me. I don't know, maybe I fell out of the loop with the game. I don't know.
the feel of the world. Plus, there's new interactive elements that make exploration feel way more dynamic. There's also this new weapon, the Hang Blade, which adds a different combat style that's a lot more precise and aggressive compared to what we've seen before. And that's kind of the cool part about this.
Man, I thought this was beyond the damn sponsor.
Forza Motorsports is an entry that ends up falling onto this list. Mostly because I don't think anybody actually expected Forza of
Motorsport?
all game series to get iced. And mind you, we are talking specifically about Forza Motorsport, not the spinoff Forza Horizon, which is still getting entries. But they are two completely different series pretty much at this point. I mean, there were two different development studios working on them, but I do think it's really fascinating that a spin-off game, Forza Horizon, developed by a different studio, ended up becoming the surviving and mainline
that's
game
fucking
in
nuts.
the series, as the main studio that essentially invented the series and did all the mainline games is now the support studio for the
Even
other
with them
spin-off
play
games.
through
I mean,
shit, when
I
it's time for
guess
another
Forza
scary game,
Horizon
baby.
definitely appeals to a wider, more casual audience than the more competitive Forza Motorsport series, but I guess it was really falling behind in Steam, maybe as its own thing, and Forza Motorsport would come to an end. Now, in 2023, they did do a reboot instead of Forza Motorsport 8, which I did think was kind of weird, just to, I don't know, randomly call the new one just Forza Motorsport. I mean, I
They
guess this
changed
is
the
a reboot,
direction?
right?
Okay,
But
so which games
really
did they
just a
change the
sequel,
direction?
I think. But in July of last year, we saw Microsoft Gaming doing a ton of layoffs, lowering their workforces across all of their studios, or at least a lot of their studios. And Turn 10 Studios apparently reportedly lost half of
Okay,
its
so I'm gonna
workforce.
finish 4.
And it was also reported that Forza Motorsport as a series had been canceled, but Turn 10 would then work as a support studio for Forza Horizon alongside Playground Games. So for the foreseeable future, we're not going to be seeing a new Forza Motorsport game at the very least, but we are seeing a new Forza Horizon game with Forza Horizon 6 releasing this year. Now, there is a chance, and I mean, this isn't just like a speculation thing, right? But we know that Playground Games in 2026 has 2 big games releasing because they're also have been working on Fable for a long time. I don't know why they were chosen to do Fable, but that's besides the point. The game is apparently coming out this year, allegedly. And then there's a Forza Horizon game also coming out this year. The first Forza Horizon game in 5 years. Can't help but to wonder if maybe the idea of putting Turn 10 as a support studio for Forza Horizon makes like some sort of sense internally so that they can still get these 2 big games without trying to like spread themselves too thin across 2
look
massive games
interesting.
coming out.
I
Now,
gotta
after
go
the
look
release,
at that.
could they go back to making another motorsport game? Maybe. But honestly, I don't think too many people were like really upset about Motorsport being iced. I don't think anyone was shocked. I don't know. I am curious though if anyone who's like watching this part of the video was like a huge Motorsport fan over Horizon. Like seriously was like, Motorsport is my series. Like what did you think about this, how this all went down then? Because I'm genuinely curious. Actually a little bit like, I don't know. I don't have the perspective of someone who's like a hardcore Motorsport specifically fan.
I honestly can't speak on this because like I didn't play no fucking Forza games. I hate that like these are a couple. This video starts with a couple of games I didn't play. I played Assassin's Creed and shit. That wasn't here, but I didn't never play no fucking Forza games. Mainly, honestly, I grew up PlayStation. My brother was stingy as fuck with that Xbox. I couldn't play them. And then when my brother did get games, we grew up playing Need for Speed. We was playing those games. So Forza games was never really my shits.
Over like Horizon.
And while we're on the topic of racing games, Need for Speed was a massive franchise as well in the early 2000s. And for a solid decade,
Abso-fucking-lutely.
it was a titan of car racing and car culture in video games. And it all started essentially with the release of Need for Speed Underground in 2003, which sold 15 million copies, which is an insane amount, and made EA turn Need for Speed into an absolute machine of a franchise. There was a new high-budget mainline entry practically every single year for almost 10 years straight. There was Underground in 2003, like I said, Underground 2 in 2004, Most Wanted in 2005, Carbon in 2006, Pro Street in 2007, Undercover in 2008, Shift in 2009, Hot Pursuit in 2010. 2011 even saw 2 games with Shift 2 Unleashed and Need for Speed The Run, and then in 2012 there was a Most Wanted reboot, and then 2013 there was Need for Speed Rivals. And then for the first time in over 10 years in 2014, there was no new Need for Speed game. But on paper, this was actually for a pretty good reason. Instead of rushing out another sequel in 2014, they spent 2 years working on the 2015
I remember this was big
simply
news.
Titled Need for Speed, and they wanted to go back to the urban car culture roots that they had
Is this the game that had like real cutscenes in it?
established the franchise in with like Underground and stuff. Since over the past decade, the quality and the identity of Need for Speed was all over the place.
Yeah, that shit. I ain't gonna lie. I hate when games do that. It was cool. It might like I didn't play it, but like with bro, what's that game Xbox coming out with? Boy, I wanted that game. I played Control. It's like the spiritual success. I think Control is a spiritual success to that game. Control, gas, map trash. But Xbox got a game. Boy, when I seen him, because I said I'm not watching that shit. I ain't playing it. Nah, not Detroit Become Human. Bro, my niggas that play games, no, bro. Quantum Break, yes. Boy, fuck, boy, the game might be good. Gameplay look good. I can't play no game. Fuck with the game. And then you have me looking at real cutscenes. That shit just throw me off, bro. Yeah, I know the same universe, and honestly, you play the games, you can tell. That shit throw me off, bro. I can't fuck with it.
So they had formed a new studio called Ghost Games, and then Need for Speed 2015 was the first game they were going to be the main developer on. But even before the reboot, the Need for Speed games were still selling decently well, just not as crazy as in the mid-2000s. So the whole franchise shifted
Quantum
to
Break,
two-year
Control, and
development
Alan Wake all in the
cycle.
same universe. It makes sense.
We saw that Need for Speed reboot, and then in 2017, we saw Need for Speed Payback, and then in 2019, we saw Need for Speed Heat. But like the issue was, even though they were taking 2 years to make these games, the quality just wasn't there. Also, they heavily started relying on live service elements. It just seemed like they weren't really focused on making good games, more just on making more money from their players. And so after making just 3 Need for Speed games, Ghost Games was demoted into a support studio for other things at EA. And Criterion.
And I know that the developers to these shits, they were not wanting to put all these fucking live service type features in these games. This is literally the fucking board members and the investors trying to tell them to overly monetize these games. Shout out to my dog Runchy for the goddamn Prime sub, bro. Trying to overly monetize these games. This shit ass.
Games was put back in charge for the next Need for Speed game. And because of all this shifting around and stuff behind the scenes, it actually would be 3 years before that released, and Need for Speed Unbound released in 2022.
The developers, the investors don't understand games, but the thing is they don't want to understand games. At the end of the day, all they care about is when they get those quarterly reports and they see how much money they generated. They don't give a fuck. They don't get into games to be like, oh, I want to improve storytelling. I want to help push the genre forward or anything. They literally get in here and be like, oh, this is a profitable company. Let me try to make an extra 15% this year from this company or something like that.
And I mean, on paper, this should have been a great Need for Speed game.
They only understand the profit margin.
Games had made good Need for Speed games in the past. And also, Unbound went back to the street racing vibe. But gamers just didn't really care anymore for Need for Speed. They definitely had burned some goodwill with Need for Speed fans over the years. Whether it's things
Watch
like
Dogs had a crazy fall off.
You can't just hop in a race anymore. And
nigga, the Watch Dogs didn't even start off. They didn't have a fall on. Watch Dogs had big hype when it started. But when the game came out, we realized they fucking catfished us. They literally lied about what the fuck that game was and how it looked. They fucking catfished us. Crazy Watch Dog 1 was fire still. Man, fuck that. That shit did not start off well. Then Watch Dog 2, they recovered some and got the gamers to like get back on their side. But I'm gonna tell you the truth. I ain't even like Watch Dogs 2. Fuck that game. That game was trash, dead sick. Yo, fuck. What? Yo, I don't know why niggas be liking that game like that. That game sucked. They trying to get me to care about the story. What's that nigga name that died? Nigga named Horatio, man. Fuck Horatio. I mean, it's whole like, I do not give a fuck that bro is gone, bro. I do not care.
Now you had to sit through the awful stories, or going as far as introducing this slot machine loot box system to upgrade your cars. I also just think the gameplay kind of fell apart with Need for Speed 2015.
Chill on my dead man, really I'm sorry, bro.
Didn't feel as good.
I was fucking with it, bro.
The gaming landscape was very different than it was almost 20 years ago. So the sales for Need for Speed Unbound were actually down from the previous game. And still, EA didn't immediately give up on this game either. For almost 2 years, it would receive multiple bigger updates until in November 2024 when Volume 9 Lockdown
I almost lost my stuff. I'm sorry, bro.
To release.
I'm sorry,
at this
bro.
point, obviously, people were expecting them to release a new Need for Speed game in like 2025, possibly. But 2025 came around and the bad news started rolling in. Firstly, Criterion, the studio that was just moved back to Need for Speed, was also demoted to be a support studio for Battlefield. EA literally rebranded them on the official website to Criterion, a Battlefield studio. But at the time, time, they stated that Need for Speed will return eventually, but then reports started circulating that the entire franchise had been quietly parked on ice because EA apparently had massive expectations for the sales of Need for Speed that just weren't going to be hit. But now the most frustrating part actually just happened this month. So Criterion worked on Battlefield 6, that was the Battlefield that came out that needed the support from Criterion. And despite Battlefield 6 being a record-breaking...
I told myself I'm about to start getting ready to play more Battlefield. It probably on some off-stream shit because, one, I want to try to improve my mouse and keyboard aim. Like, I've definitely been getting better. I definitely can see, like, I can see the improvements, but I want to do that, and I want to do it on a game that I like. Battlefield 6 is a very fucking good game when we played it. I like the gunplay on that game. I was fucking with the maps. Even their VR was actually pretty decent, so I'm going to start playing this game again.
Success.
Now, their player base is falling off, though. It's falling off. I've seen the reports. Like, that shit, they lost a good amount of these niggas.
Selling over 7 million copies in just 3 days and being like the top seller in the US in 2025, it was announced that the Battlefield studios were going to be hit with layoffs.
But it's actually a good game,
there
though.
was also layoffs at Criterion. So now, where are we at with the Need for Speed franchise? I mean, the studio that used to make the games is working on Battlefield and also had their numbers reduced recently. So who would even be in charge of developing the next Need for Speed game? So nobody really knows what's going to happen with Need for Speed. It just seems like it's on hold indefinitely.
But they both serve.
It's up to
They
EA
both shooting
to
games,
find
but they serve
some
different
faith
like
in Need for
needs.
Speed again, and then take it off ice and have a studio work on a new game. But it seems like the expectations for Need for Speed are so high that might never happen. So I don't know. I guess it's rest in peace, Need for Speed, at least for now.
Yo, what the hell happened to Spyro the Dragon?
Oh my god, OG, show respect to my nigga, bro.
Like, this game series was on top of the world in the beginning of the 2000s. It was essentially PlayStation's mascot.
Yes,
like,
it was.
platforming mascot. One of them. I guess it was Crash Bandicoot 2. And to be fair, PlayStation did
Yes,
have
it
a
was.
lot of potential mascots. But damn, Spyro came in and was like, hey, if there's a good
Crash
design
definitely
team
was
and
a
a
mascot.
good game combined, you can get a mascot.
I remember it was so crazy when Microsoft brought Crash out for like they show. And yes, we understood that Microsoft bought the IP, but bitch, that's PlayStation. And we was like, nah, these niggas really about to do that? Yo, I remember that shit, gang.
Even in an era where Sonic and Mario were already pretty well established. Like, literally just a little while after Spyro the Dragon came out, Xbox was trying to make their own mascot with Blinks, and we all know how that worked.
Fuck is Blinks. They got the party.
3 solid games back to back to back, and then 2 not so good games, then a spin-off series that was different. And it's really crazy how Spyro the Dragon was so iconic and so memorable and literally pretty much a face of a brand in itself as Spyro, but also part of one of the biggest mascots for Sony and PlayStation, even though Sony didn't have the rights to the character, which then meant that eventually Spyro would go multi-platform.
Shut up, my nigga Blinks. Not too much.
Get
that nigga out the party, yo.
Games. And honestly, I think all Activision really had to do was just get a competent team to really work on reigniting Spyro, no pun intended, because of the trilogy thing that they did, right? And I think Spyro could have still been a household name through the end of the 2000s, into the 2010s, and so on. But instead, there was a bunch of mid-games, a trilogy that continuously got worse as time went on, a few spin-offs, a DS game here and there, and then it ended up just being a means to launch a side series unrelated to Spyro altogether in Skylanders. And I know some people like Skylanders, but for Spyro, I don't know. This wasn't really that nice of a thing to do. Damn, I mean...
Who the fuck is that? Who the fuck is that ugly nigga pretending to be my nigga?
Not only did they just use the character to try to launch...
Damn, he chopped. They made this nigga chopped.
Something completely irrelevant, but this redesign is like...
Yo, this nigga's chopped. Yo, what they did to him? Oh, I'm glad I never played this shit, yo. That's your miss. I don't know that nigga on the right. I don't know that nigga, bro.
Toxic. I don't know how to explain. I feel personally shaded by this. Now for this video, I definitely was going to talk about Spyro no matter what. Because out of all of the classic, most iconic characters of all time, Spyro's really just been fully ignored after Skylanders launch. I mean, it got the little trilogy thing, but then nothing new ever again. I mean, Crash Bandicoot was very similar in vein to Spyro, kind of going on a little hiatus for a while, but at least when it came back, it got a remake trilogy, a new game, a racing remake, relaunch, and then another like side game that I don't think anybody really wanted, and that kind of killed Crash Bandicoot again. But at least there was something new. Spyro, they were just like, okay, the thing worked for Crash Bandicoot, let's just do it with Spyro. And then there was nothing ever again. So Spyro definitely got it worse, but I think if you look at a lot of the video game series that were really popping off in the early 2000s, especially like those mascot platforming games, a lot of those new ones that were like synonymous with things like PlayStation 2 and stuff also just randomly died off.
Y'all be talking about so
like
bad.
Jak and Daxter was kind of a little bit later than Spyro and whatnot, but we see a really similar fate, right? Jak and Daxter, the first one, there was a second one, a year later, a third one, a combat racing spin-off, another spin-off for the PSP just with Daxter. And honestly, it didn't look like anything would ever slow down for Jak and Daxter. I felt like this was an obvious one. It would kind of maybe have a similar path of like Ratchet and Clank or something, where at least occasionally new games would still come out, even if they were like pretty long paces apart, so that the studio could work on other things, because platforming did become less popular over time, okay. But at least like a Ratchet and Clank fan knows there'll be a new game like every 8 or 9 years.
The mascot
better than
push,
nothing.
in my opinion.
I feel like the whole Jak thing kind of felt like a blindside, because not
bench players talking like starters, I hate it, bro. Listen, bro, they had other niggas that was in the spot, and while he was getting buckets, he just had to play the 6-man role, bro. You know, just play the 6-man role a little bit. You know, we need people to come off the bench and drop 40. We need that.
Dog was cranking these games out, and like we said, there was like 3 games and a spin-off. Like, what's better than that? But then
Astrobot, the perfect
Uncharted,
mascot.
and
Astrobot is so fucking gas, bro. What a good fucking game.
The Last of Us. And I don't think it was really in the cards for another, Jak and Daxter game to be justified. Instead, we would just get new Uncharted games, a new Last of Us game, and a bunch of re-releases of the same game over and over again. I guess.
Oh my God. While I was gone, I started to watch the Last of Us TV show again. Now, when it first came out, I was watching it with Ricky, and we stopped watching it because Ricky had fries. Because Ricky low-key fucked up the damn show. He was reacting. He fell off reacting, and then I never watched it again. So while I was doing my text, I'll be on this monitor right here doing it, and I would have Last of Us playing. And man, first of all, they captured a good amount of things from the show, but they've also changed a lot. But I just want to say that show is one of the worst casting I've seen on a TV show in a long fucking time. Who the fuck is that Abby, and why did they pick her? Why the fuck is Abby so fucking skinny? She's fucking ass. I'm like, who the fuck is this lady? They made my nigga Joel get killed by a bunch of niggas that look like they work at Starbucks, gang. I say, yo, what they doing to him? What they doing to him? No, they did my nigga dirty, yo. That shit was ass. And then I'm not gonna lie, I can't get over Ellie, bro. Ellie chopped, bro. Nah, man. Man, they did her so dirty, bro. Like, bro, they chopped Ellie, bro. I'm watching this show like, oh, come on. Oh, please, that's not Ellie. But the show, I can't say they did keep a lot of the shit from the game, and like it follows the game story in a lot of ways. There's not too much like them splitting and changing things. Chase did point out something I really wish, and to the people that watch the show, if you ever played the game, I'm not spoiling anything. It's literally the game. I promise you, it's literally the game. But I like the little Easter eggs that they have in there. Like they got Troy Baker playing one of the characters, and I didn't even know it was him. If you don't know, Troy Baker is, I think Troy voices Joel. So they got the voice actor to Joel playing one of the characters on the show. And then also they got Ellie's voice actor playing a character as well. And I'm like, bro, she sounds so familiar. And I'm like, bro, why she sound like her? It's because it was her, but I didn't know it was her. Dana on the show versus Dana on the game. Some of the casting is cool. I gotta finish it. I am gonna finish it. But man, that casting, that Ellie, bro, she's chopped, bro. She a good actor. I loved her on Game of Thrones. Loved her on Game of Thrones. But boy, she looked crazy playing Ellie, bro. This title, hello, what is it? I promise you, I never know what my title is. Jesse's cast was spot on. I think Jesse was cool. Pascal playing Joel is a little weird, but Pascal gonna make you forget because he's just such a great fucking actor. The nigga, he's really fucking good, bro. So like you start to like be like, okay, this is Joel, and you move past it. Tommy kind of threw me off a little bit. I'm gonna tell you the truth. Tommy definitely kind of threw me off, but Tommy, he's okay, I guess. Like I'm gonna give Tommy a little bit of a pass, not that much. But Pascal definitely. All right, I gave him a pass for Joel. But yeah, just a random sidebar. Been watching that show. We're gonna watch those again. I seen something about Pascal playing Eddie Guerrero. He can do it. That man is cold as shit at acting. It's gonna be weird, but he can do it because hey, how tall is Pascal? Eddie wasn't that big, but he could do it.
Since Naughty Dog was busy, Sony put Jak and Daxter onto another studio, High Impact Games, and they worked on the next main Jak and Daxter game, the final one to release as like a new game, Jak and Daxter in the Lost Frontier. This came out in 2009 on the PlayStation 2 and PSP.
Come on, I don't know who would do it. Maybe, who knows?
The PS3's been out for 3 years. Why is this game coming out on the PS2? I guess there was a lot of development.
If they made a Red Dead Redemption movie, do I think that it would be fire? No, not really. The only reason why is I'm going based off history, bro. Red Dead has an amazing story. But most of the time when you take video games and then turn it into movie adaptations or shit like that, they be fucking ass. As of late, I do understand we've been having some shits that hit. I get it. As of late, we've been having things that hit. But history will tells us, for the most part, when they turn a video game to a movie, it be fucking ass. It be fucking ass.
The game started out as just a PSP game that Naughty Dog was working on, but they got too busy with Uncharted Drake's Fortune, so then...
Pascal is Dutch? No, bro. Like, he don't even look like Dutch.
High Impact Games was brought on, and they were to finish it. I still don't know why it came out on the PS2. This is crazy to me. Or, I mean, I guess it could have come out on the PS2. I don't care, but why not the PS3? Like, what are we doing? From there, though, Jak and Daxter hasn't had anything since, like, a little,
I say if you go based off history, bro.
in 2012. Apparently,
there's been
Naughty
way
Dog
more
had
ass
toyed
ones than
around
good
with the idea
ones.
of maybe doing a reboot to the series, and there's some concept art and stuff that has, like, slowly rolled out over time, but nothing
Don't
ever
do
fully
Red
went
Dead
into production.
2. I'm sorry, I know I'm talking over the Spyro part. The Spyro is over. Nigga, this nigga said that game was boring. You're out of your fucking mind. Red Dead 2 was a masterpiece, nigga. You watch your motherfucking lips when you talk about that game. You hear me? But I'm not gonna lie, I do have real problems with Red Dead 2, though. One of my problems with that game is it never felt like it was necessary for me to ever change my guns for real. It felt like if I want to use the same gun the entire walkthrough, I can do that. I did. Well, yeah, I mean, I did it, but like, I don't know why. It just never felt necessary to do it. And I'm like, okay, that's kind of like a negative. But I do like the game, though.
And, I mean, they said never say never, so I guess we can keep waiting, but this one's weird, right?
All right, so in 2004, Halo 2
Halo,
was going
oh
to
my
be
God.
released.
Great series. Oh
This
no,
was a
it's not Halo, it's
massive release
Killzone.
for the Xbox. Like, Halo C put them on the map, and now they're going to push the franchise even harder. Master Chief had quickly become Xbox's mascot, and with that, they had kind of redefined what a console mascot looks like. Gone were the times of cartoon animals or,
God,
you know,
this nigga's
Italian
terrible.
plumbers.
Who the
Now
fuck
a
is
Super
that?
Soldier is leading to their system selling like crazy. So PlayStation wanted a mascot for themselves, just like Master Chief. Up until this point, their mascots were more like cutesy platformer characters like Jak and Daxter or Crash Bandicoot, but it seemed like if they wanted to compete with Xbox,
Man, when I keep seeing that Xbox mascot, this is how I'm feeling, bro.
What you doing here? Hey, yo, my nigga, I'm talking to you. What are you doing here? Yo, P, you know this nigga? Hey, this shit mad cold outside, nigga.
Who
Hey,
is
what the
that
fuck open
nigga?
the door? Yo, who is this nigga, man?
When they keep showing that tricks, nigga, who is that nigga, yo? Get him the fuck out of here.
They had to move away from that and invent their own Master Chief, which then led to the creation of the Killzone franchise, with the first game releasing in 2004, the same year Halo 2 was released. And if you are like me, you might have thought that their Master Chief is actually this guy, or this guy, but it's actually one of these guys in the back, specifically this guy. If you went back in time and asked a Sony executive in 2004 who their Master Chief was, they would probably drop the name Jan Templar. And now if you're wondering who the fuck is that guy is, well, him and his squad are the main protagonists of the first Killzone game. So this dude was their answer to Master Chief. But besides that, obviously...
Wait, we get the fuck out my motherfucking face. Now, I did play the Killzone games, but obviously I didn't own them bitches like that. My experience with Killzone is going to somebody else's house and they had it, and or going to Walmart and they had that bitch on display. And at Walmart, that game looked straight gas. But one of the problems that I had with Killzone, though, the game, your character felt so fucking heavy. I don't know to the niggas that play the game know I mean, like, everything to do felt slow as fuck. Like, the gameplay was fired, like the gunplay and all that shit, but it just felt like my character was so fucking heavy.
Obviously, another major part of the first Killzone was also the multiplayer mode, which obviously
it was very weighted.
Had as well. All right, so now PlayStation kicked off their Halo killer with the first game, which, by the way, the devs hated that term, like the game being called Halo Killer. They thought it was like bad, but I remember everyone calling this a Halo Killer back in the day. And the series would move forward, and multiple games were released. A PSP spin-off called Liberation was released in 2006, and they had shown off Killzone 2 in 2005 at E3, but the trailer looked so good and so promising
this shit was
weren't going to
clickbait.
be able to meet the expectations they had set with the trailer, which then kind of threw development off. And then also the next gen was approaching, so they had to pivot to be on PlayStation 3. So it wasn't until 2009 that Killzone 2 actually released, which was a 5-year gap from the first one, but now they finally cracked the code on developing Killzone games, so they started ramping up the output of games that this franchise had. Killzone 3 was released 2 years later, then a Killzone trilogy was released, which included an HD remaster of the first Killzone from PS2, but now with updated graphics for PS3, plus Killzone was announced as a release title for the next-gen console, the PS4, and it was going to be called Killzone Shadowfall. And this was really going to have to show off the capabilities of the PS4.
I remember hearing about this.
They put a lot of effort into upgrading the engine so they could, make a good-looking Killzone game on the next gen. And then in the launch year of the PS4, Killzone actually saw 2 releases. First, they released a PS Vita spin-off, and then later on, with the PS4, Killzone Shadowfall would release. And it did get some post-launch content, like some new maps and even a free update with a co-op mode. But after that, the franchise just stops. Sony's biggest
I know
FPS
this game
IP
wasn't doing good
Halo,
because if I'm not mistaken, Sony did something where they allowed people to play this game for free. And if they was doing something like that, this game's struggling. Even back then, I knew that. I was like, okay, no, this game can't be doing good. Like, what you mean they letting us play this game for free? I'm about to do it. And I was playing it. It was okay. But like I said, it just felt weighted.
just dies. And from the outside, it didn't seem like there were any issues with the games. All these games, including the handheld spin-offs, were, at least decently received. Like, they weren't like the most awful things.
Yeah, it was only the multiplayer. I know that.
The last game sold over 2.1 million units, which is pretty good for a launch title. I mean, it seemed like people that bought a PS4 and were looking for an FPS would pick up Killzone and actually play it. So what happened? Why was Killzone Shadowfall the last game in the series? Well, it probably just wasn't one thing. There was probably a bunch of things. Like, for example, Killzone never became as big as Halo. They would mirror a lot of the features. Like, every entry in the Killzone franchise featured some form of multiplayer, or they would introduce a co-op campaign mode. But it didn't really work out in the same way that Halo did. Like, Killzone wasn't a massive console mover, and the Jan Templar guy just didn't really have the same coolness factor as Master Chief, so he never really became the mascot. Also, spoiler, he actually sacrifices himself and dies at the end of Killzone 2. So I guess they weren't that set on, this guy becoming their mascot. And over the different releases, the identity of the franchise also seemed a little bit all over the place. Whatever they tried with future games didn't generate the same crazy hype that they, probably wanted. Secondly, Guerrilla Games, the studio behind Killzone, was kind of tired of the franchise.
These niggas made Horizon. Right? Shout out to bro them.
Just didn't want to make this dark, gritty FPS anymore, so they pitched a different game, and that eventually became...
Abso-fucking-lutely. Man, Horizon was so damn fire, bro. This game got a lot of hate. I don't know why. I really like this fucking game. But I wish I played the second game. I got a problem. I'm telling y'all the truth. I'll be completely upfront. If I buy a game and if it's in a bad state at launch, I damn near might never play the fucking game again. This game is the sequel to this game is one of the worst fucking games I've ever put in my PlayStation. I bought the game and it didn't work. It was like load. I was streaming. I was live. It got fixed. Yeah, I know, but you lost me. Like I moved on to something else. So I haven't played Cyberpunk. Nope. Never played it. Will I play it eventually? Maybe. But that's dead ass how you will lose me. When this game dropped, bro, I was live. It was lagging so bad. I was like, bro, I'm done, Chad. I can't stream this.
Came Horizon Zero Dawn, which was a massive hit and ended up selling over 20 million copies. So quickly making another Killzone game wasn't in the picture at all anymore. And generally during that time, Sony was shifting more towards cinematic games like The Last of Us and God of War anyways.
Look
so Killzone wouldn't have fit that vibe anymore
graphics were amazing.
And it's now
back
2026
then.
and Guerrilla Games is now a Horizon factory with 3 different projects in that
Stop selling
universe
broken
and
games,
multiple things in the works. It is very doubtful we'll ever see another Killzone game. And the only other time something related to Killzone released,
what up,
at least
AJ?
that I could think of, was when Helldivers 2 got some cosmetics from Killzone. That was like the last content, quote unquote.
You ever played a Mad Max game? Hell yeah, I played that game. The game was gas. It got the Batman comeback.
They would rework the engine for Killzone Shadowfall on the PS4. They would actually use that as the base to make the Decima engine, which then was used for multiple games, like obviously Horizon Zero games, but also Until Dawn and Death Stranding. So in that sense, Killzone's legacy is still.
I just told myself I'm back to playing my game shit. Matter of fact, damn, it's on PlayStation. I'm dead ass about to get ready to play and beat Death Stranding 2. I got to get back on that fucking game. That game, Death Stranding, I get. Some niggas don't like it. That is a good fucking game, bro.
On through the engine, and I actually talked about that more in depth in our last video, so if you want to hear the full story of that engine, go check that out.
One of my favorite Wikipedia pages to read is the list of highest grossing
Stop
media
saying and do it, I will.
Because honestly, Pokemon takes that #1 spot over like
one of the best games of last year. I know. Chase keeps telling me.
Crazy.
Death Stranding 10 out of 10. I promise we there.
I mean, they are killing it. But when you go further down on the list and you see some other video game franchises and movie franchises that are really big, you do get a lot of perspective as to how popular things are. And you don't normally expect a game franchise that has made it into the Wikipedia page of the list of highest grossing media franchises to be just straight up abandoned, but that's what we're facing. And while we are looking at something at the lower end of the list, it's still something that made it onto the list. And that's Yokai Watch, a game that I don't think we've talked about much on this channel, if at all ever, which is crazy considering how big of a franchise this actually is, which is weird because the video game series has been dead for 6+ years now. Luke, do you know anything about Yokai Watch?
It came out on the DS, maybe the first
3DS, yeah.
Oh, the 3DS, okay. And then people said it was gonna be a Pokemon killer. Like, I remember people talking about that. I mean, it's incredibly stupid, but like, yeah, that's all I remember.
I don't think it was ever gonna be a Pokemon killer per se.
Bro, there is no Pokemon killer,
the
bro.
Formula, at least to an extent, as to what had made Pokemon so
Nigga,
successful
Nintendo the
as a
Pokemon killer. That's it.
multimedia franchise beyond just video games. So sure, but if you look at the list on that,
Crimson Desert is cocaine to me now. So I've been seeing some Crimson Desert like gameplay and shit like that. Like, I think the deeper that you play the game, it obviously does get better. The problem is the amount of time that it take that game to open up. A lot of people just don't have the patience for it. I seen a dope ass detail about that game where in real time they had a character building a statue. Like they did a whole bunch of time, like a time lapse. And he built the fucking statue in the game. It was pretty cool. But the problem is, though, like, the actual story in that game just don't look enticing to want to play and finish to a lot of people.
Franchises, this game sits above Resident Evil and just a little bit below The Elder Scrolls. So, like, when you look at it at that scale, you're like, whoa. I didn't realize Yokai Watch became that massive of a franchise in the little over a decade it's been around.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So what's really interesting is that this game project was developed by a company known as Level 5.
They said
and
the story don't matter straight up.
In interviews and stuff that they had researched extensively what makes a franchise last long. And they went all out. There are 4 main games, a ton of spin-off games. If you look at the little like timeline
I've
of
seen
media
this
that has
before.
come out in the Yokai Watch lifespan, we're talking about multiple things in a year because there was a TV show anime that came out. There were like 7 movies
That's why I seen it. I seen a fucking anime.
based on the anime that also like hit theaters. There might have been 8. There was also a card game series. But what really surprises me is that while this stuff continued to run for a long time, everything kind of just abruptly stopped in 2020. They did one more spin-off that came out on Nintendo Switch and PlayStation 4, and that was it. They just wrapped it up. The developer, publisher, Level 5 didn't do anything else. And yeah, they were doing multiple different Yokai Watch animes, but the last one ended a while back.
Wait, am I seeing this right? They released 21 games, including all spin-offs?
I think so, yeah. It's crazy. From 2013 to 2020, in a 7-year window, a ton of stuff released.
That's insane.
Obviously, a lot of the games were mobile games, so fair enough. And then I think the only thing that's still going right now in the franchise is the manga. There might...
Now, what I'm going to do is, we're going to watch one more release from this video, but then it's 4 in the morning. We're going to finish these links, and then we stream it again tomorrow early. I don't know if I'll be live crazy late tomorrow because then I gotta get off stream and do some preparing for Easter though. So while I'm gonna stream the NBA game and shit like that, I gotta get off and prepare because we doing Easter. Define early. Oh, I'm live at 2 p.m. We're gonna watch the game. But Runch, if you want to be live before that, if you want to run some games before 2, nigga, let me know so I can get up and we can run some games and all that. But please don't make no greens. I was asked to make the greens. I'm sorry, brother. I make good greens.
still be some of the toy line, but I don't think I saw much saying that the toy line was
Call me
continuously having more stuff like merchandise.
Oh God, I make good
beyond,
greens.
like,
I swear I'm
some
not
stuff that
even
was listed from,
lying.
like, 2018. They just packed up shop.
Ego by Rick, what
like, why? Now, the 4th game in the series did end up releasing on the Switch and PlayStation 4, but it didn't really sell all that well in Japan, and they just decided not to release it overseas. I don't know if they just figured that like the age group that grew up with it had started to grow out of it, and they didn't want to invest in capturing a new age demographic or the new generation coming on up. I really don't know. And then if you look at Level 5, what they've been up to, it seemed like they put a lot of time into working on the Megaton Musashi series, and then they've just been kind of jumping around with different projects. So I don't know if they're just looking for the next best thing or they burnt out of Yokai Watch, but it is interesting nonetheless to realize that Yokai Watch had like hit such high peaks and then just disappeared. There wasn't like this slow burning out phase. It just abruptly stopped after like just flooding the market for 7 years straight, which is very unique, I think, for a game franchise or any type of media franchise that grosses so much money.
I didn't realize it was that big, dude.
Yeah, and like even if you
Am
look
I
at the list,
dressing up as the Easter Bunny? Hell no.
of the highest grossing media franchises, it's not just video
I'm about
games,
to put
right?
money
It has
in the
movies
eggs.
and stuff. It's
That's
like
the
sitting up
Easter
there
Bunny.
with like the Powerpuff Girls, Friends, The Incredibles, the Planet of the Apes series is right there too, and there was like what 15 movies or something since 1963 or whatever. How many movies are there in the Planet of Apes? 10 main movies.
W.
I
Uncle
feel like
shit.
there's
That's what they
more.
about to
I think
get for
Planet
me,
of Apes had
bro.
5 original movies.
I love
the
them,
one
though.
2001 one, and then the
Oh my
4
God. I'm glad you
new-
put this on my fucking screen. Damn, I got too much shit to do though. I did tell myself I got to get caught back up with the Planet of the Apes series. These bitches is so fucking gas.
ones. Oh, and a TV series and an animated series.
You gonna talk about Guitar Hero?
In the honorable mention section.
Just also just under here.
Yeah, I mean, would you want to do honorable mentions now? We can talk about it. Oh, well, let's just do it.
Okay.
We'll just do Guitar Hero right
Oh my God, Guitar Hero was amazing when that shit dropped, nigga. What?
now while we're at it.
Okay,
While
okay.
we're here in
While
the
we're-
neighborhood.
Okay.
We were going to do 2 games, honorable mentions, that I think like some people could have probably forecasted the game series dying off, but there was so many games in such a short amount of time. It is surprising when like there's such a influence and then just
All right,
nothing.
now, they was
Guitar
doing a
Hero
lot now.
easily fell into that. From 2005 to like 2009, 2010, there was not just like 1 or 2 Guitar Hero games. There was like multiple Guitar Hero games.
Hey, the homie Takeover gave us a version of this game that we are going to try and play. I've not forgot about it. It's that DJ Hero game. I'm going to be asked. These games, it's fighting games, and then these games, well, I might be some of the worst at. Like, yes, I said Guitar Hero was gas. I had fun, but I was playing on the lower difficulties. You put that shit on the hard difficulties, oh, man. I start to think I might have a disability. I can't catch up.
is coming
This
out a
shit's
year,
bad.
spin-offs, a ton of like Guitar Hero clones and stuff too. Rock Band also was becoming like really big during that time. It died around the same time. Then there's like the little resurgence in 2015 later on, and then like Fortnite Festival and stuff nowadays. But Guitar Hero World Tour, I think, was like the big turning point.
Same
When it was
with a
obvious
guy,
that
that
like
shit
the
bad, bro.
gimmick of Guitar Hero was starting to maybe like wear off the novelty of it, because they were now like, oh, Rock Band has all these instruments, let's do all these instruments ourselves. And then they did like DJ Hero and Band Hero,
Oh my
and there was
God.
Guitar Hero on the
Is
DS.
that how it looks?
Do all these instruments ourselves. And then they did like DJ Hero
Oh my God, I'm gonna be fucking ass.
and Band Hero, and there was Guitar Hero on the DS where you put the little thing in the thing and then you put it and then you use the little stick on the DS thing. You know what I'm talking about? Crazy stuff.
Yeah, that shit was goofy.
Dude, I played it. It was actually kind of innovative for a DS game, I'll be honest. Like, I mean, nonetheless, I don't think a lot of people anticipated Guitar Hero just to fall the fuck off like it did, but damn. Not quite like a full-on listing, because I do think you could have seen it coming maybe a little bit before, just for how much came in such a compressed amount of time to it just being gone. There's a pretty abrupt like whiplash going on there.
I mean, it was kind of expensive to like buy the new controllers every time, right? Because they would switch generations.
Yeah, but you could reuse your old controllers.
I got
in
slow
between
music on. Hell
generations?
no,
No,
nigga.
but by the time a new generation came out, I don't think anyone cared.
But we had like, well, we had to switch from PS2 to PS3 era, right? Or like,
Yeah, but I think it was really hitting its peak after that era already. And on top of that, I think the fact that they were on just one generation probably hindered it more, because they weren't getting the
Yo,
sales
Benji,
of buying
think
the
of the raid,
bundle.
gang.
People who went to go buy the game would just go buy the $60 game. They wouldn't buy the whole guitar set and stuff
Yeah,
every
hell
time.
no.
So in turn, there's like less money being generated also.
yeah, that makes sense. Yeah. So what's the other honorable mention?
I mean, we can talk about it.
Or should we do it later?
No, we'll throw it out there. We'll throw it out there. We can talk about other games after this. I wanted to talk about Wolfenstein 3, this third Wolfenstein game that hasn't come out. I know it's going to come out. I'm still pretty confident it's going to release. There's a lot of rumors that we might even get an announcement this year, maybe early next year. I don't think any.
Hey, I played Wolfenstein through them demos. Every time they dropped the Wolfenstein demo, that bitch was gas. I just never bought the game.
Anybody anticipated the new Wolfenstein trilogy to take this.
This nigga said, I remember I tried to play FIFA with the Guitar Hero guitar. Nigga, this is no wonder why you watch us. You slow as hell, just like a bunch of people up in here. What the fuck were you doing? What the fuck were you doing?
Long
nigga?
though, right? Like, I think people anticipated there'd be
This
Wolfenstein
nigga
the
bugging
movie,
out.
maybe 2 years later, a sequel.
Yo.
Being pushed out a little bit longer to like what, a 3-year development cycle. But
Oh
I don't think anybody
my
thought from the time that
God, bro.
Wolfenstein 2 came out until the likely time that
Yo.
Wolfenstein 3 came out, a decade would pass, and that's
W
crazy to me, because they were like,
experimented.
okay, we got Wolfenstein. Then on like these off periods, we're gonna do like a standalone DLC expansion. They did what was it, the Old Blood, and then they did Young Blood.
Oh, in the VR game.
And then Cyberpilot, yeah. I mean, game development has gotten so inflated in development time nowadays. It still feels like a newer series, but it started in 2014. It came out, and it is 2026, and we're still waiting for that final entry because of this essentially 9-year break between
That's ridiculous.
game entries. And I don't think anyone expected that. I think when Wolfenstein 2 came out, I was pretty sure we would see Wolfenstein 3 by like 2020 at the latest, 2021 maybe. Did not think 2027. You know, that's wild. It's not a full mention on the list because I do think it is going to come eventually, but I didn't expect this little like mini death of the series to happen in between.
Okay, you
All right, so I'll come back and finish this video.